Welcome to another episode of Main Street, the show that's helping individuals get jobs, create jobs, and manage money from the job. Sponsored by Fifth Third Bank. This is your host, Ryan Macklin, co-host Mario Bueno and Robin Barnes. Again, we always like to start today with a special financial literacy tip. And the first tip of the day is make sure you have your estate plan in order. And part of those elements of a good estate plan, and we want to talk to a good estate planner first of all. So do you have a will? Do you have a living will? Do you have a healthcare proxy? Do you have a durable spring and financial power of attorney? And if you have the funds and the resources, you might want to look into doing a living trust as well. So I want to turn over to the panel here. We're back in business. The government is finally back open again. They had a recent government shutdown. And only lasted 3 days, so it was a small blip on the screen. But I wanted to get you all's take about the government shutdown as a whole. The government shutdown costs as much as $1.5 billion a day in terms of added to the overall deficit. But we've seen individuals from federal contractors who were out of work. Close friends of ours who worked with the governor were told that you cannot go back to the office until this is actually resolved. So just want to get you all's perspective. Samara, how did you feel about the overall government shutdown? Because that does have, this is one of those instances where we actually start melding, the politics starts to mesh with economics, and it seemed like it had a significant economic impact, even if only for 3 days.
Not only economic, I think it just further deteriorates the reputation of the United States of America, especially in relation to the fact that the Republican Party has full control. And when you have a party that has full control that can't even agree on a budget, I think it shows some smoke to where there's going to be fires.
Robert, what was your take on the overall government shutdown?
It's sad whenever it's sad whenever a country is making a choice to shut down. It should not be any reason in my mind that you should shut down. We're paying you for a job. We're paying you to come in here and do something. We're all adults here. You should be able to negotiate. To shut down because one part of the bill isn't the way I want it. And we're getting really childish in politics. And I think that's kind of why I'm just kind of staying away from it, because we're really getting to a point where it's tit for tat and knack for this and all that. And you're using my money to, stop certain things from happening, holding back. Our military, our country is at risk when our government is shut down. Well, and I don't think people really understood that. People don't understand that.
The people who are making the decision to shut down, that the impact as a result of it. You're talking about the body of the governmental employees, right? They're living check to check.
Right.
So you're talking about when you say we're going to shut down, as you said, because I don't like this or my ego is that. I can see going on with a continued budget that needs restructuring for another month, continue as every other administration has done when there hasn't been a balance.
Probably too many times.
Right.
But nonetheless, not just simply shutting down.
Shutting down is not an option.
But I also want to put things in perspective as well, because I honestly believe that when you're talking about the funding the government, there are certain issues that shouldn't even be involved and integrated into the overall discussion. And these games have been done in terms of political games. Gingrich did it to Clinton. We saw the House did it to President Obama when it came to Obamacare, and said we want to make sure that we want to defund Obamacare, or else we want to hold that hostage unless we want to shut down the government. So we had that in 2013. And now lately we've had the Dreamers Act, the DACA Act, that wanted to be included in the overall, where the Democrats wanted that. Again, personally, I believe that we should have a clean, make sure we're funding the government, and let's solve the legislative issues separately. Let's make sure we can handle those issues and responsibly, at least make sure they can bring them to the vote. So the update is that, so we're only open now till February 8th.
Right, today.
And McConnell's essentially saying that he guarantees that we're going to actually, because we have been trying, the Democrats have, to try to do something and actually put a vote on immigration. And the DACA legislation, in terms of support of DACA, is up to 87%, meaning that 87% of this country, Democrat or Republican alike, agree that we should have these 800,000 individuals who were born here under no accord of their own. They should be able to stay here. They've been vetted. They're working. They have a job. They have, the majority of them are educated. Again, I didn't agree with trying to put that in the government shutdown. But if you look at the bigger picture, actually, I do believe that this was a failure on Donald Trump. Essentially, Donald Trump said, he came out and said, well, when he brought the Democrats and Republicans together, he says, you know what, whatever bill you all want to come up with, we're going to sign. They come up with a bill. He says, okay, you know what, I'm not going to sign it because those elements of the far right, those individuals who are quite frankly racist and they support a white nationalist agenda, well, Stephen Miller essentially said, hey, you know what, no, we don't want you to sign this legislation that Republican Lindsey Graham and Democrat Dick Durbin came with together. It was a collaborative legislation that gave them all the funding for security at the border that they wanted. It gave them everything except for only $1.6 billion on that stupid wall he wants to build. That's fine. All that aside, they put all that together and they said, you know, whatever y'all want to put together, we're going to sign. And then he comes back and he gets pressure from Steve Bannon not Steve Bannon, but Steve Miller. But Miller and especially Kelly, who's now the New Point person, saying, hey, man, we want to appease the base, and this is not going to appease the base.
But
and
that's
that
not
put everything into disarray. And even McConnell said the exact same thing.
You know what? I'm not agreeing with that. I mean, Ryan. I mean, we can all.
So you disagree with McConnell and you disagree with
We can
Graham.
say we can do it like that. We can say, well, yeah, this is just Trump. You know, that's the issue. Everything is just Trump. I've never seen one individual that holds everybody's conversation the way this man does. He is an epiphany of power because
but you know,
he
2013,
keeps.
Donald Trump said.
Hold on.
He said in
hold on.
2011
Right,
and
he-
16.
he
That
said-
the
no,
president
stops with the president.
No,
Stops with
what?
the
But the
president.
bottom line is,
Exactly.
I don't care if the bottom
times.
line is
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
should be able to negotiate.
So you disagree with Trump?
What I'm disagreeing with is that you shut my country down because of DACA.
So you disagree with Trump?
So I
You know Trump was in the room too,
definitely,
either,
yes, I
right?
do, because my thing is this: it doesn't take you 30 years to be in a country to become a citizen.
But you know Trump
so
wasn't even in
until
the
you,
room negotiating.
it doesn't even, and I wouldn't negotiate it either, because if I have,
Why?
if I've
You said you
said,
wanted to negotiate.
if I have a certain thing out there, and I said for you to negotiate it, that is between the House and the Senate. They should
And they
have
came
done
back
that.
with a bill.
Okay,
wouldn't sign it.
and
He
he
wouldn't
wouldn't
sign
sign
it.
it. So it wasn't right. Obviously, he didn't agree with it.
But he said
And
he
if
wouldn't agree with it.
Okay, and so what? You say stuff you would agree with every day, and you change. That's not no big deal. What?
So
So,
say-
what?
so he-
So,
so you say
my
you should-
thing.
so
So
you
my
say you
whole
should've
thing is
should've
instead
not
of
negotiated.
I'm saying what I'm saying
I'm
is
confused
that
now.
no, I'm telling you what I'm giving you straight.
How? What's straight?
We should
Should've-
not have shut down. Democrats should not have played the game and said we're going to shut down the country
Well, at the end of the day,
because
this
we're
is what
going
happened.
to keep
We saw-
700,000 people who are illegal people. This is not legal. These are illegal folks that are not actual citizens.
Well, we saw
shut our
individuals
country
like
down
McConnell. We
for
saw-
non-citizens.
we saw
And I
McConnell,
don't agree
and
with
we
that
saw-
at
we
all.
saw McConnell.
I don't agree with that at
We
all.
saw McConnell
So,
and we saw
dude,
Lindsey
y'all
Graham.
Can
They
save
both-
that.
Excuse me for a second.
Y'all
One
can
second.
save that.
We saw McConnell. We saw Lindsey Graham. Both of them said that they did not agree with the way that
Well,
the
that's
president
them. They can agree
held with
whatever they
this.
want to.
I have
They can agree.
I have a problem with the fact that we can't hold.
Elected officials accountable.
Well, we can't hold.
What
our
you mean you
president-
can't
we
hold them
hold-
accountable?
Excuse
I
me.
pay you to be accountable.
If Donald Trump
I
said,
pay you to be accountable.
Then
But
how
if
can you hold
he
the
so
president
and he's the
accountable?
president, and if he says he doesn't agree with what they came up with, then
But
he
you
has
also
the right
said
to
the
do
buck
that.
stops with him.
And but he's also the president.
flip-flop based
no,
upon
oh,
what's
it's not a
convenient, what
flip flop.
you're saying.
No, it's not. No,
That's-
I'm
yeah, I
saying
think that's okay
no, it's
for
not
him
a
to do that.
flip
I
flop.
have a problem when
It's
the
not-
president does that.
No,
Exactly.
it's not
That's
a
what I
flip
have an
flop.
issue
It's not. Why can't he flip flop? Isn't he a human like anybody else? Can he not
you just
say?
said hold him accountable.
Can he not? Can he not? And you just trying to
You
say
just
something.
said hold him
No,
accountable.
okay, well hold him
He's not
accountable.
paid for
But
that.
guess what?
He's not paid
Hold
for
him
that.
accountable.
If
Hold him
hold him
accountable.
Absolutely.
Hold him
Impeach him.
accountable. You can hold him
Impeach him.
accountable.
Is it okay?
And he does not mind not saying
Is it
that
okay?
he
or is
didn't
it-
change
Let me
it.
ask you a question. Honest
He didn't
question.
change it.
You said he flip-flopped.
Okay, no, I didn't say he flip-flopped. You said he flip-flopped.
No, you just
I
said he flip-flopped.
no. Let
You
me
said
let
it's
me
okay
be
for him to
very
change
clear.
his point.
Hush,
Right.
and let me be very clear.
You said
What
it's
I
okay for him to
said
change
was
his mind.
hush, and let me
No,
be
no,
very
no,
clear.
one second,
What I'm
Robert,
saying
no, Robert,
is that he
Robert.
did not. What I'm saying is
You just said
that
he flip-flopped.
it should be between the negotiation should be between Congress, between your
Led
Senate
by
and
the
your House.
president, which the
And,
president
but,
said.
and if the House, if they came up with a bill and he said he did not agree with it, then he doesn't have to. He does not have
The
to
only
sign
way it
off
can
on
get
anything.
to him is if the
And that's
Republican
it.
Congress gave it to
So
him.
that is.
That's the only way they
He
can get
okay.
to
I
him.
didn't
Right.
say it didn't. So the bill came to him. He didn't like it. He rejected it.
But
It went back
and-
out.
And
So what?
McConnell
So
said
what?
McConnell,
So what?
your Republican colleague,
But
McConnell
you
said
just
himself.
finished, Robin, you just
McConnell-
finished
okay.
saying that if
they couldn't come with an agreement, you don't understand how people can't come with an agreement. They did.
Okay,
They
but
did come to an agreement.
No, they did not
McConnell
come into
said
agreement.
himself-
we
no, it
flip-flopping
didn't.
thing
You
when
have
we started.
83% of
That's why we
Americans, and you
flip-flopping. My bad, y'all.
all right.
McConnell said-
All right.
Let me
So
tell
you know what? Everybody wants to be. Everybody wants to be.
Robin, hush.
They negotiated.
Robin,
They negotiated. He did not sign
look,
a negotiated.
Let's talk
And
let's
because
talk
he did
facts.
not
Let's
agree
talk
with it.
facts.
He can't do that.
McConnell said himself he didn't understand what the president would or would not sign. So nobody, Republicans or Democrats, which is the only reason
I
that
don't think the
So now we know he won't sign that one. So what we do know, people, is that he won't sign that.
We went to a shutdown because
You didn't have
of
to
it.
go into a shutdown because of that. Y'all went
It's
into a
very
shutdown
obvious that
because
you
you
had
were.
signed it. Of course
Yeah,
they had
first
to.
of all, the president
Let's
didn't put
move
you
on,
into a
let's move on, let's
shutdown.
Or he
move
could
on.
have pushed the same budget. He
No,
could've pushed for the
yeah,
same
no,
budget.
he could
Well,
just
like
you
Obama.
know,
At least let it
it's
go.
all,
You know what
you
he's
know
gonna
what?
do.
He
The world
likes
is
executive orders.
always
He loves them. We know
until
that.
At least let his
the
own party know what
Democrats,
he's gonna
everybody
do.
know that the Democrats
the
shut
Repub-
the Democrats shut the
Let Robin say
country
what she gotta
down.
say.
They
Let Robin
cut
say what she gotta
the Democrats shut the country down because
The
they
Democrats,
wanted.
They don't even have control.
Nobody even had control in there. What are you talking
Okay,
about?
what are you talking about? Yes, they did.
No, they didn't
you
have
had
control of it.
Democrats plus a few
You gotta watch out.
Republicans.
You gotta
You had the
Democrats shut it down.
Okay, the Democrats plus a few
Even when- so
Republicans
Trump was
shut
wrong
it
then.
down,
No, it's
and that's
impossible.
what it is. Okay,
so Trump was
okay. Well,
wrong
guess
when he
what,
said the
people?
buck stops
So
the
guess
time.
what it is? They
So
shut it
Trump-
down. So why were y'all apologizing? Because you
He
why
loves
did you
those-
come back?
so
Why
Trump-
did the Democrats
so
come
does
back and
Trump-
say, "Ooh, well, we said we're
does
going to go
Trump-
and give y'all 3 more weeks because that's what
Does
we're going to
Trump
do."
or does Trump-
That ain't no
was Trump or
Trump
was-
ain't said one thing
Was
yet.
Trump or was Trump not right when he
You-
said the buck stops at the
He
top?
said that
Okay.
3 times.
He said it 3 times.
All right.
So
Well,
was he right then?
So the buck is
Was he
stopping.
right?
So he said no. He did not agree to whatever
No,
they came
was
up
he
with.
right? Was he
so
right
he
when the
did
buck
not.
stopped to the president for a shutdown?
He did not agree.
For a shutdown.
Well, let's look
He
back when
qualified. He
well, let's look
wasn't
back at it. Let's look back at
negotiating.
Obama. Let's look back at Obama when he did it. Didn't nobody say the buck stopped at
I
Obama
did.
when it shut
I
down?
did.
No,
I did.
you're the only one
No, I
because the
did.
rest of the country said,
I
"Oh,
said that.
he did." Oh no, the
I said
president
Obama
did.
was in
President
fault.
or
I
president.
agreed with Trump when he said it.
I didn't. My
When
beef
Donald-
ain't with you.
When Donald
My
Trump
thing
came
is,
out and said,
but so-
we on the show now. We ain't talking to the country. It's all of us
Okay, well,
talking
I'm talking
to
about here.
When
I'm
Donald
talking
Trump
about here.
came
No,
out
you're
and
not.
said, one second, Robert, 1 second, hold on. When Donald Trump said, President Obama is at fault for the government shutdown.
Which he
I was
would
the
be.
first one to say, you
Okay,
know
well,
what?
that's
He is
awesome.
at 1 second, Robert.
That's
Hold
awesome.
on for a second. I don't like to speak about nothing, but that's okay.
Okay.
So when Donald Trump said that, I said, you know what? He's absolutely right. So when Donald Trump is essentially coming out now and saying he wasn't even in the negotiating room, Donald Trump essentially. The Democrats and Republicans both, they went into Senator Collins' office and Susan Collins' office and said, you know what? Let's both of us come together. Democrat, and that's actually one of the positive things.
What kind
that
of
come
leader
out.
takes the credit but
No,
not the
but-
blame?
no, but
though?
check-
That's my
but
question.
check it out.
That's my question.
When the
He takes
Democrats-
all the
Well, Obama
credit
didn't say
with his
that.
hashtags.
Yeah,
when the
But none of the blame.
when the
None of the blame.
one positive
They wasn't
thing-
right.
Oh, that's
one-
the Republican
Oh,
way.
he did.
One positive
He
thing-
did take the blame. He
That's
said it
right.
wasn't
I
right. He
One
didn't sign
positive
off
thing
on
that's
it.
coming
There
out
you
of this whole
That's the
thing.
Republican way.
is that
Okay, but
I
after he
saw-
didn't sign
1
off on
second.
it, all they had to do
One
was take it
positive
back and
thing that's coming out of this
renegotiate.
whole
That's all
thing
they
is
had
that
to
when
do.
the Democrats and Republicans, because of this, they came together.
Absolutely.
And they say, okay, you know
In
what?
spite of.
In
In
spite of.
spite of the
And they-
leadership.
No, they literally,
In spite of the lack of
literally and
leadership.
figuratively
No,
said,
what happened was-
Donald,
Right,
no, they said
right.
Donald Trump, get off the
You're
Twitter
null and
machine.
void. You're null and void.
Oh,
Get over to the
God.
side.
You know
and
what?
Susan
Twitter is
Collins
such an
came out.
issue.
No,
Twitter is such an
and
issue
Trump
now.
wasn't even in the room
Oh,
for
God.
he wasn't in the room for the discussion.
Here we go.
And they hashed out an agreement to get
All
them to
right.
February 8th. And 12 Republicans came out and they talked to Schumer.
And guess
they,
what?
And they said,
If it still ain't right
Robin,
by
hold on one
February
second.
8th, they won't be signing that either.
No,
and it won't. So you got an extension.
But they're not going to put that legislation. They're going to do what I originally said that they should be doing in the first place, which is don't have this as a part of the negotiation.
never been in.
Let's do what McConnell said. Let's February 8th, keep the funding going, and then I will put it to a vote. Let's put DACA to a vote. This is the first time that
Well,
we've
maybe.
seen in almost 30 years that we've seen Democrats and Republicans coming together in spite of Trump. Trump was nowhere in the room, so I thought this was a severe lack of leadership.
Oh,
This
yeah,
12,
right.
16. And as you see, we get very spirited about this conversation. We have a great time. And now coming up next, we're going to have a more conversation that's even near and dear to our hearts. Again, we have to love and
Absolutely.
respect our veterans.
See what he thinks about this shutdown.
Many veterans are
Hey, look, I just
Yeah,
robbed him.
veterans are
Yeah, because of y'all.
We have a veteran.
He was about to lose
coming
a
on the
check.
other side of this break. This is Ryan Mack, host of
Yeah,
Main
about to lose a
Street,
check.
sponsored by Fifth Third Bank. See you. Welcome back to Main Street, the show that's sponsored by Fifth Third Bank, helping individuals get jobs, create jobs, and manage money from the jobs. Hosted by Ryan Mack, Mario Bueno, and Robin Barnes. We're here to make sure we are changing the conversation from politics to economics, even though it didn't seem like in that last segment it was all about politics. But I promise you we're getting back on message here today with a near and dear friend of mine, Clarence McKinney. Like, Clarence, I have to say, so I have to brag about you for a second here. Because you are all over the place. You're all over the place, and you know what I like? Not only do you have your profession as a financial advisor, but you are in the community. You are the president of Pop Warner, the Michigan Pop Warner.
Michigan Pop Warner.
And you also do some phenomenal things. Now you're telling me you're doing some stuff with something that's near and dear to all of our hearts, our veterans.
Yes.
Make sure that our nation's veterans come back and they can help start business. Tell us about this venture that you are now taking on to make sure that veterans here in this country, in this state, and especially in the city of Detroit, can start their own businesses.
What I'm involved with is the Veteran Circles, veterancircles.com, and what we do is specialize in, first we want to do is an outreach to all the veteran entrepreneurs locally and all the veterans that want to become entrepreneurs. You know, we're going to mentor them, give them advice, and all the things that go along with that. We're really excited. The national chapter currently has over 2,000 members, and we're just starting, I mean, literally just launched last Thursday here in Metro Detroit. You know, so we're looking for folks out there in your audience space right now to get involved with us. You know, they can give me a call directly. They can, you know, email me.
So let's get a number out on the top of the interview. What's the number they can give you a call? Because I know right off the back there's some of folks out there who naturally want to get involved with veterans. So what's the number right off the top?
It's going to be 248-812-8373.
And you say get involved. What does that mean? Individuals can get involved. How do they help to teach? Do they donate? How can people get involved with the mission?
One of the first things in becoming an entrepreneur, the first thing you really need to go find, besides having that vision, you need a mentor. You know, and it's easy to talk to somebody that's a veteran who understands some of the struggles, especially if you've been in theater. You know, make sure you're getting some of the help you need. You just need to connect, you know, with that brotherhood, that sisterhood, you know, just being, you know, with those who've been through some of the struggles that you've been through. And there's a deeper understanding of what our needs are. And sometimes there's a disconnect between veterans and civilians, just a general language of what we're trying to do, you know, because at the end of the day, it's about accomplishing the mission.
And Mario, I know a lot of the folks that you're working with go through similar issues in the veterans, don't they?
Yeah, I've just been doing some recent research on returning citizens.
Right.
And the similarities, for the most part, the pools of population that have been examined have been veterans returning from war. And correct me if I'm wrong, some of the challenges are emotional withdrawal from family and friends,
Definitely.
Emotional outbursts, and a sense of lack of meaning and purpose, right, now that they've returned to an environment that's a lot of times unknown, and a lot of times they have barriers.
And
Expound on that, please.
I mean, because what you find is that when you first come back home, depending on the situation, you've been trained to live a certain life, you know, and to obtain or finish a mission. And all of a sudden that mission is gone. You know, so at that point, you need help redefining what is my mission. Is that mission family? Is that mission business? Is that mission employment?
Multifaceted.
Multifaceted. And that's why we, you know, we promote entrepreneurship because it gives that individual an opportunity to, you know, say, okay, this is my mission and I understand what the mission is and I can go get other people who understand my mission and I can go for it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The fact that you guide them towards entrepreneurship, for the most part, it helps overcome those other barriers that would exist for employment, wouldn't it?
Right, because the biggest barrier is that when you have employers who don't understand a veteran, you know, what they bring to the table or the skill set, you know, because we have to understand most employers, one of the first things or barriers is your education, where most veterans are come out or went into the military as high school students. And everybody, even though there's a GI Bill,
but have an education of a 6-year-old, right? Technically, life experience.
Thereof,
yeah.
You know, so when you've been in theater or just as a
define
veteran,
what do you mean theater? You said that before. I'm sorry.
A foreign country, you know, Iraq, Syria. You know,
so that's the technical term, theater.
Is it?
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
They call it theater?
Yeah, because it's a different type of.
It's a play.
That makes sense. I never heard that.
You better think of it being a theater and not real life, because when you come home, it's a different story.
It's a
wow.
What are some of the stories that you've seen in terms of what made you join this movement and what made you want to lead this movement? What are some of the personal stories that you've actually seen in terms of veterans?
Well, I first got out of the military in 1992.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Thank you. I was a 10-year veteran of the Air Force. We had just gone through Desert Storm. And one of the things I noticed, I had all these skills. I went into the service when I was 18 years old. And, after I went through my training, I worked on flight simulators. The machine I worked on was a brand new machine, $60 million in value in 1983. Okay. A lot of logistics knowledge, handling millions of dollars of parts. And when I came home, I couldn't get a job. Nobody thought my education was valuable.
Wow.
All the stuff I've been handling, millions of dollars, and they say, okay, well, we want to give you $8. And I'm like, for real? Now a veteran comes home and all he's offered is $10, $12 an hour. How are you supposed to take care of a family?
Which is
on that?
equivalent back then of $8, $7.
Yeah.
How did I want you to just hold on there for a second. How did that, when you couldn't get employment, and how did that make you feel about the country that you were just serving? I mean, how did that, because I had an uncle who served in Desert Storm as well. How did that make you feel about, because we get into all this discussion about why we need to kneel for the flag, or why we should stand for the flag, and all these symbolic gestures of this is what America really means and what it stands for. And all of a sudden, here you are, you go over and you risk your life. You could honestly, were you shot at over there?
No, not personally.
But it could have been. You never know what could have happened. But you go over there, you risk your life, and then you come back and you can't even find employment. How did that make you feel about the country?
Like most veterans, unappreciated.
Really?
Truly unappreciated. But we love our country. We love the communities that we come from. We believe in the American dream. But me, myself, when I came out of the military, it was a decision. I was at that midpoint to be able to make it a career. I had researched, my options, before I gave another 10 years, to be able to retire. And entrepreneurship called me. It just made sense because that was an opportunity in this country. Realistically, if you're not making a 6-figure plus income, your hands are tied.
Your hands are tied.
And the only way to truly do that with freedom is to be an entrepreneur. So that's why we say, okay, veterans, you come with a certain amount of skill. Let us assist you in getting that done.
And what are the services? What are the services that you provide to help these veterans?
Mentoring, education, support, functions. We're just getting started here, but across the country, that's what's been happening. Hotlines. If you need assistance, you're in that dark place, you need to talk to somebody. The brothers and sisters are there for you. So these are the things that we need to understand. That this is needed. This is not a joke. This is not politics. As an entrepreneur, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm an entrepreneur.
It's about that green.
At the end of the day, okay, what's the profit margin? Are we staying open? Are we moving forward? Are we building a vision? Are we playing games with this? No, you have to be serious and on top of it.
And self-governed.
Self-government. Exactly. I mean, we all live in this country. I appreciate this country. Having traveled the world, being in the military, I also understand, I've seen other places,
It gets worse. It gets worse.
Well, you get to appreciate the United States of America, too.
Yes, you do.
I represented the flag and what it actually means to me and a lot of veterans, That other argument, we don't have enough time in the day to even talk about it.
Even think about it.
Even thinking about it, because there's too many other things that are more important, especially the veterans and their families and what those families deal with, that the issue of politics over the flag, when realistically what they're arguing about is not even real. It's a lie.
Expound on that. What do you mean?
It's a lie.
Because there were some.
Because when we defend our country, we're not defending the flag. We're defending the principles of the flag, of the country,
of the Constitution.
And realistically, as an African American, I also have to understand. I know the history, so we're not going to play games with that.
Right.
But I can still hold my head up and say, okay, I'm an American. My family fought, died for it. Vast majority of my uncles, my father, all served in the military during the Vietnam era.
Right.
So I have a family. I have 3 brothers. We all served in the military. My 2 younger brothers served during Desert Storm. So there's things that for my family, we're not going to play games.
This is a culture.
Yeah. It's a culture.
It's a culture.
And all that
what I'm hearing is there's no symbolism for you. There's substance.
The substance.
The substance. So many individuals, and again, I call them sofa patriots, where they sit down on their sofa and they say we should be doing this and that, while you're actually going overseas and your families have been dedicated. I want to say thank you for your service. So when wants to get involved in what you're doing, it's for veteran circles, correct?
Right.
How do they get involved? Can they sign up to be a mentor to the veterans?
Well, the first thing they're going to have to do is register with the national body.
Okay.
That's the first thing, and then we're going to
where's the website for that?
Okay, it's going to be veterancircles.com. Okay. And the gentleman that runs it is Brandon Wong, an outstanding veteran who started the group out of Texas. And the first thing that's going to happen, we're going to vet the individuals. You can sign up, but we're going to vet you first. We're going to check you out. You know,
No pun intended.
You're right. And we're going to make sure that you're actually here for the right purpose. You know, because sometimes you have fair weather people who say they're veterans and they're not.
Yeah.
You know,
Unfortunately.
you know, that's unfortunate. You know, but people do that in a lot of things in life. And then we're going to, you know, help people walk through and find out what are their needs. You know, what can we do for you on a one-on-one basis.
So basically, you meet them where they're at, and then
Yeah.
you try to see, you coach them where they should be.
Where they should be.
Helping them
Especially when
shape that
you're talking
vision.
about building
Right.
a business.
Right.
You know, because, you know, you have to get a mentor. I don't care what business you're going into.
And everybody should get a mentor,
I like
whether
that.
you're a veteran or not.
I'm 54
Yeah.
years
I like
old,
that.
and
You
I
have,
have
me too,
mentors.
absolutely.
I have mentors. You know, but if you're going to find a mentor, you know, I have financial aspirations for my family. So all my mentors are millionaires.
Right.
Okay? Some look like me, some don't look like
They
me.
have to be in zones
know,
that are
some-
uncomfortable to you.
Right. A mentor is somebody who's supposed to push you forward.
You know actually
you
where
like
the
it
word
or
mentor
not.
comes from? Because we actually
Pray
do,
tell, my
we
friend.
do actually the same work. We're actually a service provider in the city of Detroit for returning citizens. So I really
Okay.
admire what you're doing.
Oh, I appreciate
And
it.
Fabulous story.
Mentor actually comes from the word from the story of the Odyssey.
Okay.
Remember the Odyssey, Odysseus, right?
Yes.
The Iliad.
Yeah.
So mentor was actually the person that Odysseus left his son Telemachus with. Mentor
gonna have me read.
in Greek, mentor actually means trusted teacher and counselor. Right? So he left Telemachus, his 7-year-old son, with mentor.
Okay.
We need to have friends. We need to have mentors, even over friends. Sometimes
No.
a friend will tell you what
Well-
you want to hear, but a mentor. Will tell
Well,
you what
I
you
just
need
said
to
this.
hear.
You know, I was on American Black Journal last week, and I said how much more important. I think it was during a break, but how much more we have mentors, whether it's government, mayor's office, anywhere you can think of, post-secondary education, U of M, Harvard, you got mentors.
Exactly.
How much more you need them in prison? And then the other, I feel like the other population that has been disparaged and pushed to the side, more so, are veterans.
Yeah.
Similar population, similar needs. So how much more we want and we need these populations that are at risk
Right.
to become better. And I appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you.
Can you, can you give the website out? Can people donate to this movement as well?
Well, I think that's something that Brandon is working on
Okay.
currently. Most of the stuff is self-funded with the veterans internally. That way, you know, you're not beholden to folks. You know, who don't have the same.
But
mission.
because I do a lot of work with veterans, and inevitably, whenever there's something about veterans, people always they come out the woodwork. And one thing I believe is that we've all been blessed with is that we have a heart for those who serve this country. And so, if people want to donate, they can at least call you and say, "How can I support financially?"
Oh, yeah.
And then you can direct
Oh
them
yeah,
to the right.
definitely, we can do that.
And what's the number one more time so people
It's going to
get
be
involved?
248-812-8373.
One more time.
248-812-8373.
Brother Clarence, I want to appreciate for your time today. I think this is a fabulous movement. I hope that you get a lot of calls,
Oh, I hope so too.
and you make all of us unofficial advisory board members.
We can definitely do that.
Absolutely,
All right.
appreciate
you.
Coming up next on Main
North Star's
Street,
a
we
very
have
large
a great and a
strategy.
fabulous
It's got
story
a lot
from
of
one of the
components.
neighborhoods. Everybody's always
Some
talking
of the
about
simpler
rebuilding the
things.
neighborhoods. Well, this one young sister is doing it and rebuilding the neighborhoods every single day and has committed herself to the Cody Roots area. Kenyetta Campbell, Executive Director of Cody Roots Community Action Alliance. Coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Main Street. This is host Ryan Mack with co-host Robin Barnes and Mario Bueno. The show that's helping individuals get jobs, create jobs, and manage money from the jobs. Sponsored by Fifth Third Bank. We want to make sure that we want to bring the change of conversation from only talking about politics to make sure we can also include economics in this overall conversation. And we have with us today a very near, dear friend of all of ours, Kenyetta Campbell, Executive Director for Cody Roots Community Action Alliance. Thank you for coming out today. So you're doing some phenomenal things in the Cody Roots area. people are always saying how the focus is only for 7.2 square miles downtown. But what you've decided to do is stay in your neighborhood and to build a movement inside of your neighborhood. Talk a little bit about what Cody Roots is doing and the role that you're doing in leading this organization to really the new. And you all just recently got an award not too long ago, about last year.
2 years ago, yes.
So, I mean, you've taken this organization and you transformed it to one of the most prestigious organizations in entire the city of Detroit. As a matter of fact, the state of Michigan, as far as I'm concerned, because you're doing it in one of the hardest areas. And I've done a lot of work with the different schools there. So, talk a little bit about the work that you're doing over there at Cody Rouge.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. So the Cody Rouge community, we are actually located on the far west side of Detroit, which is our boundaries are Fort Road, Rouge Park, 96 Freeway, and Greenfield. And I actually grew up in the neighborhood, so it was a pleasure to really to go off to college and come back to be a part of redeveloping my neighborhood. So back in 2007, I was a part of the Skillman Foundation Good Neighborhoods Initiative, in which they identified 10 neighborhoods within the city of Detroit.
Shout out to
that
Tanya
had-
Allen.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That had a high population of young people in the city of Detroit. In fact, Cody Rouge has the second highest number of children in the city of Detroit. There's over 13,000 young people in the neighborhood. So the goal was to be able to create resources for our young people in the neighborhood, as well as their families, to make sure that we're uplifting them and also assisting them through their high school and elementary school, and then going off to college, and then hopefully do like I did and come back to be a part of giving back to the neighborhood.
Wow. And so, again, what inspired you in order to take this? Because just like you said, many individuals, they go off and they get their education and they go out and get smart.
Yeah.
And they get all dignified, right?
Right.
And then they leave and never come back. But you came back to the very neighborhood, and you're doing some phenomenal things. What was one of your biggest reasons to say, you know what, I need to do the work where I grew up because I want to make a change where I grew up? What inspired you to do that?
So there was actually two separate things that really inspired me to come back to be a part of the neighborhood. In high school, I was actually robbed at gunpoint, and that situation really terrified me. And to this day, I still, I think about that. And I wanted to make sure that we would be able to create safe pathways as children travel to and from school, so that other young people don't go through the same thing. I was leaving Cody High School and on my way home after practice, and a guy, robbed me from gunpoint. And so one of the first things I was able to do is make sure that we created a collaborative of residents and also stakeholders to create safe routes to school. So we actually have a great partnership with Brothers on Patrol, and they're actually patrolling before and after school. The schools are involved, the churches are involved. Pretty much the entire community is really out there making sure that we're addressing that. And the other thing that brought me back to the neighborhood, also a situation in high school. I felt like I should have had scholarships when I went off to school, and I got all this debt, and have to come back, work and pay back. So now I was able to create a nonprofit to really help young people to make sure that they're in position to apply for scholarships and then also start their own business. So that's pretty much, the reasons why I decided to come back.
I don't hear a victim, I hear a victor. and you recently even went to Harvard lately. Talk
Yes.
about that experience.
So the experience with Harvard, it was last summer. I was selected. Actually, I applied for a grant through the Community Foundation and also Fisher Foundation. And I decided I wanted to, look at my personal development and maybe make sure that I'm able to look at other things that are happening across the world and things that may be impacting other cities and other countries, and how can I bring some of those best practices back to Detroit. So I attended a week-long session. I was focused on nonprofit management. It was the Emerging Leaders Program, and at that time we were able to learn a lot of great skills. One was the skill of negotiation, and how do you make sure that you're creating a win-win for for everyone. So that of course it's difficult when you're trying to negotiate. But I think that experience happened at the right time because we're currently at a transition with our neighborhood, and so being a part of Harvard, it was something great to have.
Got a Harvard grad
one girl
here.
from
Yeah.
Congratulations.
thank you.
From the west side.
And so what's next for Cody Rouge? I know you all talked about some of the things you're doing, the 0% loans that help individuals rehab their homes. You're actually selling homes now.
Absolutely.
So you not only do you help develop, what's so exciting to me about the organization is that not only do you help the people, but you also help the property.
Absolutely.
So you're buying homes. Talk a little bit about that process, because now you're actually developers as well.
Right.
Converting renters,
Yes,
right?
yeah, converting renters to homeowners.
Because nobody washes a rental car.
Right.
Yeah.
So So a few years ago, we decided we wanted to purchase a few homes from the city of Detroit, the land bank, and we purchased 2 properties. And with those 2 properties, we were able to teach young people about skills trades. So we worked with at that particular time with Life Remodel. Now we're actually able
Chris
to
Lambert doing good work.
He's
Okay.
done a phenomenal job in helping. In 2004, we done a lot of work with them. So once those 2 properties were completed, now we're trying to actually sell those homes. It was a struggle. This was something that was new territory for our organization, but we learned a lot, and we decided to now reach out to some of the other organizations that have the capacity to do that work, and then we will continue to help connect the residents that are looking for homes, and then they actually do the lifting.
Now, it's a similar group that's in Rosedale Park that has been doing that ever since the foreclosures and everything that were
Yes.
going on. So have you guys connected with them and sounded kind of, because they have a lot of resources.
Is that the Grandma Rosedale?
Grandma Rosedale.
Yes, I'm actually familiar with the new executive director and also the former executive director. So there's a collaborative of CDCs that are doing a lot of work across the city, and hopefully
Right.
at one point we'll come together and try to go after some, major advocacy work, things that affect the entire city. One with the foreclosure prevention, that's one of the projects that we all are doing currently, making sure that we are informing residents about the poverty exemption that a lot of folks didn't know about.
Right,
Right.
right.
If you fit a certain income requirement, your taxes are exempt for your property. So that's something that we were able to hire 10 people this past winter to go out door to door and inform residents about that. The other thing that we're doing, we actually received a grant from MISTA, and it's a program to assist our residents with addressing their front porch. There's something that's as simple as that.
Right.
But we were able to find a qualified construction company in the city of Detroit, and they've been able to do 11 properties. So we're hoping that we get refunded for that, so that we can
Was that
expand
structural?
Yes.
Because believe it or not, I used to work in the 9th district with the legislature, but the structural damage to at least 60-70% of the properties on the west side of Detroit are almost on the verge of danger zone.
Right.
Like, so they're desperate need a lot, and it's an older population as well.
Yes.
And that's why the CDCs like you are really needed, and
Oh,
it was
huge.
It's paramount in Rosedale.
Well, but
Being
you
in,
drive through
so-
the east side, and then you drive through. Let me tell you
Right.
something. You drive through your area, and then you drive a parallel area on the east side. You tell the difference.
It's a difference. And
You
now,
tell
how are
the
you guys
difference.
getting? Is there any banks or anybody else that's? Because I would think Land Bank would give you a little bit more properties in those areas. Have you guys been negotiating and
Yeah,
kinda
we
doing some
actually-
contracts with them?
Yeah, so we are partnering with National Faith Home Buyers.
Okay.
They're actually,
I know them.
With
we're
Dina
just- yes,
over there?
Dina, I love
Yes.
Dina. Shout out to
Shout
Dina.
out to Dina.
Yeah, so she is actually doing a phenomenal job. She recently purchased houses from the land bank. So
Good.
they're the partner that we're currently working with now.
Good.
And then our goal is to help make sure that we get the word out about the properties that are for sale, and then those that are renters, have them go through the home buyers program with Dina, and get the certificate so that they can
Right.
get the home buyers assistance, to go for down payment assistance as well. Yep. So they're doing a phenomenal job in our community. We've worked with them for the past 2 years now.
Good.
I have to dig in, because what you're saying to me is just phenomenal. You're remodeling what your neighborhood should and could look like. So I got to dig a little bit deeper. Where did you take when you first started at this organization? Talk a little bit about the growth and how you would take it from where you started to where you are now in terms of maybe revenue or overall activity, because it sounds to me as if you're doing some phenomenal work over there. Talk a little about the
Yeah.
growth of Cody Rouge.
Yeah, so when we initially started in 2007, I was actually working for an organization called National Community Development Institute. So my goal was really to be an organizer, making sure that I reached out to all residents and create this collaborative of people that are looking to change the neighborhood. So we had 5 community planning meetings at that particular time. We decided what the key areas were at that time, and we created strategic planning meetings. We had worked a lot with Dex Design, who's assisted us with our strategic plan, and from that, pretty much everything evolved. Now there is a collaborative of residents within the neighborhood called the Neighborhood Partners. There are 8 sub-communities within Cody Rouge. So they all have been part of our community planning process last year. We do a lot of partnership. We partner with CDAD, which is the Community Development Advocates of Detroit, and they also assisted us with our most recent community plan. And then I'm excited to announce that last year, 2 years ago, we was actually selected as one of the 6 neighborhoods that were continuing to get funding from the Skillman Foundation.
Yes,
As
and
well
you
as
should
working
be.
with-
All the stuff you all are doing.
Yeah. So we have 3 corporate partners that are looking to work with us: General Motors,
GM,
Quicken Loans,
GM is over there all the
and
time.
and
And what-
DTE. So those 3
So
are
GM,
looking.
Quicken, and DTE,
Yes.
and so they've selected you all to continue to work
Yes.
with over there.
Yes.
Wow, that's
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 great.
that's a
That's
blessing.
wonderful.
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing, and I've done a phenomenal job. It's really listening to the residents and not trying to move ahead of the residents. And I think that's something that we need to become a model so that people can see how we do things across the country.
And it seems as if there's a growth of individuals like yourself, of individuals who saying, you know what, our future is not written for us, it's written by us, right? And it seems as if you've taken a hold and grabbed onto just exactly, you know what, I have a vision of where my community is going to go, and you started to take it there. Again, what are some of the secrets that there are other individuals like yourself who are saying, I want to do some change in my community. If there's a young woman out there who's looking at you and saying, man, Kenyatta, she's really doing a bang-up job, and I'm in high school, I'm in middle school. What do you say to that young girl who just wants to say, I want to make a difference? I've been robbed as well. I want to come back, and I don't want to be a victim. I want to be a victor like Kenyatta. What's your words of encouragement for those folks out there?
I think there's two key things that we've done in the past is making sure that the residents are involved in the process. And when I say involved, not just telling them what they want to see happen, but actually a part of the implementation plan of the community.
So they have buy-in.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then the youth. I mean, they're like they have.
With your daughter as well?
Yes, and
Yeah.
she's been leading, a lot of work in the neighborhood.
You have a youth council, don't
Yes,
you?
we have a youth council. That's what I was leading to, and that was actually because my background was youth development.
Okay.
Prior to starting the work, and making sure that we had a council where young people were actually coming up with ideas, and they actually have community service projects. They've, and when Harvey was in office, he took them to Lansing. They had a chance to see, government. Firsthand, taking our young people to Washington, D.C., so they actually, meet with the Congress and everything to really see how government works and how community engagement in politics really, need to be a little bit connected.
So you're taking this really outside of not just
It's so comprehensive.
not just the real estate piece of it. You're taking it all into growth and as far as
Absolutely.
real estate, keeping up your property, investments, Congress, the whole 9 yards, and that's awesome. 'Cause a
Thank
lot of
you.
kids don't even get that chance anymore.
Absolutely.
When we were younger, we got the chance to go to Washington. A lot of kids don't get that chance anymore.
Absolutely.
So to see that a group is doing that and you're really working with them, and that's going to keep them kind of, grounded
Yep, and
into their community.
Well, I got to say, if there's one organization that I think individuals should donate to and support, it would be your organization because you're tangible. As you see, you have corporate partners, and every little bit helps, correct?
Absolutely.
So how do people donate? How do people get in contact? Because I'm sure there are volunteer opportunities as well as funding opportunities.
Yes.
How do they get in contact with
So
you?
we're located inside of Don Bosco Hall, which is at 19321 West Chicago, and our phone number is 313-397-9280, and our website is www.codyrouge.org. And we also have Facebook as well, so you can find us on Facebook.
And one more time, because I know somebody out there is
Yes.
taking a long time to pick their pen up. 'Cause they
Absolutely.
want to donate to this organization that's doing such. And I'm going to talk and hesitate because I want somebody to pick that pen up because too many people out there talk a good game. But then when we see an organization like this, we don't want to support. So I urge people out there listening, please support this organization that's doing some good work. How do they do so? One more time.
So our website is www.codyrouge.org, and you can actually donate online, and you can also call our office at 313-397-9280.
Kenyatta Campbell doing some phenomenal things in the Cody Rouge area. And up next, we want to talk about taxes. What does this new tax bill mean for you? We have the best and most prestigious financial expert in all the city of Detroit. Coming up next, Crystal Nixon. Coach Crystal going to come on and really just break down exactly. She's been studying this bill and she's been doing some work. She's going to give an update. She's been on here before, but now she's really tell you the skinny on exactly what this tax bill is going to do for you or maybe what it's not going to do for you. We'll see in a second on the other side of the break. Coming up next on Main Street, sponsored by Fifth Third Bank. On Main Street, the show that's helping individuals get jobs, create jobs, and manage money from the job, sponsored by Fifth Third Bank. We're trying to change the conversation from only talking about politics and make sure we also include economics in this discussion. Again, we are here with a very near, dear friend of mine, Crystal Nixon. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me again.
Now, you are a tax expert. You've been doing this, and you've been studying this, and matter of fact, I think one thing that was phenomenal, and I can brag on you for a second, is that you originally got your first job in taxes, correct me if I'm wrong, when you were volunteering to do free taxes, and in volunteering, doing so many free taxes, they gave you a job offer and say, hey, why don't you come here and help us do tax return? Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Shout out to Rosha Thomason.
Yes.
And Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency. A long time ago, 12 years ago, my daughter was 2. I would go to Wayne Metro on Saturdays with my daughter on my hip with her little goldfish snacks in a sippy cup, and I would sit her in the corner while I just banged out tax returns as a volunteer while I was obtaining my accounting degree.
And so now you've got some information about this tax cut, tax bill passed in the later part of 2017. Essentially, they said it's going to cost about 1.5 trillion. In conservative estimates, a joint committee and sort of called the watchdog of the Congress, nonpartisan, said that it conservatively might add maybe $500 billion on the terms of revenue, but so it's still going to cost about $1 trillion overall. What are your overall thoughts about the tax bill? What are your takeaways? I know you've done some training sessions on it because you have to teach. You have to counsel clients with this every day to make sure that they're familiar with how that's going to impact. So I know you're getting a lot of questions on it. What's your overall take about the tax bill?
Okay, I'm going to use a double negative right now.
Okay.
The tax bill is not beneficial.
Okay.
It's not beneficial.
Okay.
It's just depending on who the general audience of the beneficiaries are.
Okay.
And that's the main issue, I guess, with most people who are against the tax bill. Of course, we know that the biggest thing is this 14% cut in the corporate tax rate.
Okay.
That's the big thing that everybody's talking about. We do have people on the lower end getting tax cuts, but it's not going to make much of a difference. They say this is a tax cut that's going to benefit the middle class. Middle class in this country is anywhere between $50,000 and $60,000 a year.
Okay.
The median income in Detroit is $26,000 a year. So that means effectively you could say that it wouldn't really benefit anybody in the city that I serve. And I'm more concerned with the people that I interact with every day and people like the people that I interact with every day and not just corporations.
So by your figures here in the city of Detroit, between 0 and 25,000, the average tax cut they're going to receive is about negative $60. So they might say it's $60 a year for the first year. Is that about right?
That's about right.
And then from 25,000 to 48,000, those individuals might save as much as $380 a year. But again, toward the lower part, is that about correct?
That's about correct. I done a test run on some software that's in beta right now for next year, and while our tax return is anywhere between, I would say, $1,000 to $3,000 regularly, it would be about $800 next year. And we are considered middle class, but yeah, we are not going to see much of a benefit. It's not good. I don't know how else to say it. We know that cutting corporate rates could, in fact, lead to companies doing things like giving bonuses, bringing business back to America, paying those good repatriation taxes and all that good stuff. However, like I said, I'm concerned about the bulk of the country that is not wealthy or does not own a corporation or does not benefit from any of those other benefits.
Rob, you want to say something? Or Mario?
No, no, I'm good.
So, I guess my question for you is, so we really just don't know the effects thereof.
Yeah, we can't tell.
Right.
We won't be able to tell, first of all, until
For
we
the
file
first
our
year.
tax.
Well, for example,
Right.
like was it Chrysler that just gave huge bonuses and profit sharing checks? Announced profit sharing check,
Absolutely.
wasn't it? About
And then
2,000
Apple
employees.
did,
Yeah.
and a few other companies
Walmart
announced
said
that.
it.
I think Amazon did. Was it Amazon? I think it was Amazon,
yeah.
right?
So
Yeah.
here's what I, as an accountant, think about bonuses versus long-term raise in income. I want to see a raise. I don't want to see a bonus. Bonuses can be written off on your tax returns as a corporation. So you give me a one-time bonus, everybody's happy. Yay, this tax plan is wonderful. I got a bonus once. And you're still living at minimum wage.
Right.
Okay, so minimum wage across the country is $7.25. Here in Michigan, it's $8.90. So at $8.90, you're making about 18 G's a year. After taxes, you're at poverty level or below poverty level again. But you got a bonus once, that one time in December.
And that's one of the issues I had with it. I mean, I know everybody was saying, "Oh, well, we're getting these bonuses and things like that," but the premise to me that I do like, and I do agree with you. I think to say that the tax bill is just, oh, it's awful, it doesn't work, blah blah blah. No, you can't say that, because it does work for some people and doesn't work for others, and some people we won't see it work until down the line. Okay, but what I do notice is, and I never have truly agreed with the whole bonus thing, exactly for what you said. And when a company gives you a bonus, it's just like I said last week about Starbucks. The reason why they gave me the 10 free, rewards points to get all the stuff, because I'm a great buyer. They want you to keep coming. Well, I want you to stay, so I'm gonna give you this, and it makes me look good, and I'll write that off. Yeah. But if over time that you can see that you're gonna not only, get the bonuses, and you get a raise so often, so that you have people coming up. And it's a gradual thing. So what I do like about the I've had this discussion with Ryan also. In my business, it works for me to have the taxes work. But for other individuals,
some industries, you're saying some industries, I guess.
For other individuals, it needs to be a gradual increase all the time, so that you're not always trying to catch up and to stay above poverty level. And that's something that's going to take time to be implemented.
I guess my question would be, have we seen such a tax cut in the past, and what has been the results?
This is about the fourth largest. We have seen others in the past.
So I'm asking Coach Crystal. She says we don't know, but what in reflection to the past, what do we know?
We do know that tax cuts like these are not long-term beneficial.
Right.
We do know that. We do know now about this tax law that most of the individual perks will expire in 2025.
Yeah.
So 2027. So the corporations will still be benefiting, but if I did get an extra $400 in my tax return, that would be over, and I'd be left hanging. So there's some. It's not beneficial, but it's not the best thing.
So in other words, it needs to continue to be amended and evolve into where it needs to go. And I think that's the bottom line in anything. When you come to these bills and stuff, you come to the table, it may not be the way you want it exactly, but you have to keep amending to get it where it needs to be, because it's different levels.
And here's my overall take on it. I think this is probably one of the biggest thieves to our long-term prosperity in our country. Alan Greenspan, who is an economist, said that the biggest threat to to Western capitalism is the income disparity. And as income disparity continues to go, when Reagan cut marginal tax rates, I believe 21% in the 80s, it took for him to roll those tax cuts back in order to start to see economic growth.
Absolutely.
So it's actually tax increases that actually spurred the growth until he cut taxes again, and we saw a recession after he cut taxes a second time. And then when Clinton actually increased, we saw modest economic growth. But then we saw a recession after George Bush had his tax cuts. And then we saw Barack Obama tax cuts, which was actually more widespread, but it did add on to the overall deficit. So I believe that, but one thing about Clinton that I do appreciate was that with Clinton, there was a treatment that actually helped in terms of solving our overall threat to capitalism, which is income disparity, making sure that the rich don't continue to get richer at the demise of the poor. So there are certain things in there, like Donald Trump is going to see his alternative minimum tax cuts, which actually is more beneficial to him. I think one year he paid almost $30 million that he had to do because of the AMT, and he's going to get his estate tax doubled. The exemption doubled, correct?
Yeah, and what that does effectively is gives wealthier families and corporations a reason to just transfer wealth from one generation to another. So instead of me saying, here, Mario, you're my son, even though you're much, much older than I am. You're my son. And I'm going to pass you down this money. All you got to do is pay a gift tax on it. Now I can pass you, my husband and I can pass you up to $22 million with no taxes at all.
Right now.
So now, oh my gosh, I'm facing this big tax burden. Wait, let me give my son some money. And nobody has to pay taxes on anything.
Wow.
Oh, that's motivation for you to really look at getting your legacy together.
and
if nothing else, I mean, that motivates me.
And you offer tax advice. This is what you do. This is your job.
Yes, this is my zhuzh, as the young folks call it.
And so I got to say that there's really no one better than someone to sit down and get your taxes done. How do people get in touch with Coach Crystal so they can get their taxes together?
Okay, you can go to www.mycoachcrystal.com. CoachCrystal.com. You can hit me up on Facebook at My Coach Crystal, Twitter at My Coach Crystal, Instagram at My Coach Crystal, Snapchat After Dark at My Coach Crystal. I get real on the Snapchat at night. If y'all don't want to get real, don't go on the Snapchat. But
Don't
at
stay
My
off
Coach
Snapchat.
Crystal.
Oh boy, Ryan Mack just started that, didn't you?
Yeah,
Didn't you
boy.
say, oh,
Snapchat. We own it.
boy. We own it.
And again, and any number you wanted to give out?
Yes, please. To get in touch with me, you can call 313-799-5264. And on the website, you can see everything I offer. I offer tax debt consolidation, where if you owe the IRS thousands of dollars, we can settle for pennies on the dollar. It's
And
very
you've done
cheap.
that. I've seen her do it before.
Yes, I've done it. $15,000 quickly became $300. You pay $100 a month over the course of 3 months, and you're done. Boom. I offer, of course, credit counseling services for people with gambling addictions, shopping addictions. It's non-traditional credit counseling, and I also am an accountant by trade, so taxes and all that good stuff.
Again, the phone number one more time.
313-799-5264. Don't call me after 9 o'clock because my shows come on. My
And with
shows
that, I guess the Stay Woke tip of the day is be true to yourself. We got to get going. Next on Main Street, sponsored by Fifth Third Bank. Peace.